Why might you compare somebody's beauty to nighttime? Let's find out. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. How's it going? It's me, Liam, aka Mr. Knight, aka DystopiaJunkie. So I reckon if you're watching this video, you're probably after some poetry analysis. Brilliant, you found the right place. In this video, we're going to be looking at Lord Byron's poem She Walks in Beauty, which is on page 8 of the WJEC Eduqas poetry anthology. I'm in the process of making analysis videos for each of the anthology poems, so how about you subscribe to my channel and ring that notification bell too, so that all upcoming videos end up in your feed. This video will follow the exact same structure as the rest in this series. If somehow this is the first video of mine that you're seeing, then please do follow the link in the top right corner of the screen about now. It'll take you to my entire WJEC Eduqas Poetry Anthology playlist, which will eventually cover the entire anthology. So in this video I will read the poem, go through its context, provide a closer reading. I'll also consider the poem's meaning, mood, and the poet's motivation. I'll think about themes, and finally, once I've covered all of that, there will be an optional revision task for you to complete. Right, so now we're starting for real, so make sure that you've got a pen to make notes with, at least 3 different highlighters, and some extra paper for notes too. So here's the poem. Make sure that you follow along either on screen or by using your anthology. She walks in beauty. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. And there we go, that is the poem. And here's some context for both Lord Byron and SWIB, which I hope you figured out stands for She Walks in Beauty, SWIB, SWIB. As with some of the other older poets, I have included the years of Byron's birth and death, just in order to illustrate that he was alive in a much different time to our own. A former lover of Lord Byron's described him as being mad, bad, and dangerous to know, which I think is an awesome contextual quotation that you could choose to use. Now, Lord Byron was a romantic poet. Romantic in this case doesn't mean lovey-dovey and has a complex and multifaceted meaning that I'll cover in a later video, should there be enough interest. In short, romantic poetry can be about intense emotions, yes, including love, and also beauty and nature, among lots of other things. As well as being a poet, Lord Byron was a politician. He inherited his title from his great uncle, and later in life, Lord Byron was a revolutionary in the Greek War of Independence. Lord Byron was a celebrity, and in some people's opinions he is even regarded as the first modern celebrity. He was famous for his writing, but also for his aristocratic excesses. He was invited to a number of high-status events, became a member of a number of exclusive clubs and societies, and was generally seen in affluent areas. She Walks in Beauty was written and published during the height of his celebrity. Lord Byron was involved in a number of sex scandals. He slept with many women, including high-profile married women. He also became romantically and sexually involved with men at a time when homosexuality was illegal, and he was even sometimes involved with teenage boys, perhaps because a man his mother was involved with made advances on Byron when he was a child. Byron also possibly became incestuously involved with his half-sister, and he allegedly fathered a number of illegitimate children. Lord Byron had a deformed foot, the diagnosis of which isn't exactly agreed upon. He was very sensitive about this, which might have caused his fascination with beauty. Lord Byron travelled extensively across Europe in different periods of his life, and was well connected in literary circles. He was friends with Percy Bysshe Shelley, who's another anthology poet, and Shelley's eventual wife, Mary, who went on to write Frankenstein. Now, thinking about the specific context of She Walks in Beauty, it was first published in the 1815 collection called Hebrew Melodies. She Walks in Beauty was intended to be accompanied by music. Now, allegedly, this poem was inspired by a real-life event, the event being Byron meeting his cousin's strikingly beautiful wife at a party. So there we go, there is our context for this poem. Before we get started annotating the poem, this is your reminder to get 3 highlighters and to set up your own key. You'll need 1 colour for imagery, 1 for language, and 1 for structure. And as with every other poem in the anthology so far, I think it'd be useful for you to have something ready to say about the title of this poem. Remember, you'll be given the titles of all of the anthology poems in your exam, and so that also means that you're going to be given a quotation for each poem too. So there's my question about this poem's title. It's encouraging you to look at how verbs have been used. Pause now if you'd like to make your own annotations. So walks is a present tense verb, so the woman's beauty is happening right now. This could suggest that her beauty is continuous. It's not going to change to the past tense as it's locked in writing, and therefore her beauty is also permanent. Right, so here we have the poem's first stanza. It's quite rich from a number of angles, and so it has quite a few different questions attached to it. In fact, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. So what ideas do they bring to your mind? Pause now, have a go at making your own annotations, and share your ideas down in the comments section. The first line introduces a simile, which is then continued on to the second line. The woman has been compared to a cloudless night that has plenty of stars visible. The night has connotations of mystery, perhaps suggesting that Lord Byron does not know this woman particularly well, whereas stars are also often associated with beauty. This image is slightly unconventional. It would have perhaps been more conventional or traditional for Lord Byron to have compared the woman to the day, as seen throughout literature, i.e. in Shakespeare's sonnets he asks, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" This idea of an unconventional comparison is something we might be revisiting throughout our analysis of this poem. Byron writes that the woman is the best of dark and bright, and this juxtaposition suggests that she takes aspects of both night and day and is the best of both worlds, sort of a bit like a 50-50 loaf of bread. By taking the best aspects of both of these things, she is somehow superior to both of them. In balance, she has created extraordinary beauty. The image of the fifth line suggests that a soft light resides in the woman's face and eyes, which adds to the picture of beauty that Lord Byron is creating. Lord Byron criticises day by saying that it is gaudy, which means too bright, tasteless, tacky. He says that this woman is more beautiful than the day, suggesting that he is not only challenging the conventions of love, but also literature, which perhaps overuses the idea of daytime being beautiful. Showing a slightly unconventional love could relate to Lord Byron's stance on love. His sexuality and quite free attitude towards love was certainly unconventional at the time. The enjambment in this stanza, and across the poem more generally, could represent breathlessness, suggesting excitement and passion and being blown away by the woman's beauty. If you're looking for a place to highlight, then I'd suggest highlighting the last word of the first line and the first word of the second line, or the last word of the third line and the first of the fourth. And now we have the poem's second stanza. There's quite a few different things that I think are worth considering, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 such things. Pause the video if you'd like to read these questions, think about them and answer them on your own first. Right, so the top line of this stanza uses the technique of antithesis. Antithesis is where opposite or contrasting ideas are presented alongside each other by using the same grammatical structure. So in simple terms, the top line is made up of two halves, each following the structure one blank the blank. So one shade the more and one ray the less. This antithesis highlights that the woman's beauty is delicately poised between light and dark, and that it is in this precariousness that beauty and perfection lie. As it says on your screen, the adjective nameless suggests that the woman's beauty is beyond words, which is quite remarkable given Lord Byron's proficiency with language. The image on the third line suggests that the woman's beauty is alive, as the verb waves is written in the present tense, giving her beauty a sense of energy. Ravens are birds that have black feathers, and tress means hair, so the image also suggests that the energy of her beauty can be seen in her hair. The second half of this stanza is written in a slightly confusing way, so you're going to have to bear with me. The overall idea is that her outward beauty represents her inner beauty, and so she is therefore a good person. And here's why that is. Her face is the place where her thoughts are most visible. Just like most people, if she's happy, it shows on her face. If she's mad, it shows on her face. If she's sad, it shows on her face. The thoughts expressed on her face are serene, meaning calm and peaceful, and they are also sweet. These thoughts make their dwelling place, her head and face, seem pure and dear, meaning that the thoughts themselves are pure and dear. And for thinking pure and dear thoughts, she must be a good person. Got that? In even simpler terms, she's the opposite of Roald Dahl's The Twits. They're ugly because they think ugly thoughts, but this woman is beautiful because she thinks beautiful thoughts. And so here we have the poem's final stanza. There's only 1, 2, 3 questions that I'm going to consider here, and they're a bit broader in their scope. So read the question, have a think, and see what you can do. You might find it useful to look for sibilance, which is the repeated s sound. You might also find it useful to look for positive language, and then also to think about how the topic of the poem has changed slightly but significantly. So pause the video and give it a go. Sibilance can be used to represent a number of things, but here I argue that it has a soothing effect. What else is tranquil and calm? Why, it's the woman's thoughts. So you might look at the sibilance in so soft, so calm. The smiles, the tints, days, goodness, spent, and so on. Goodness, peace, heart, love, and innocent are all words that evoke a positive semantic field. This shows Lord Byron's celebration of the woman's purity and goodness. Why he's celebrating this is up for debate. Perhaps it's the romantic, that's the capital R romantic, in him feeling overawed by her virtuousness. Or perhaps it's the womanizer in him that's attracted to her purity so that he may corrupt it. It's open to interpretation. What do you think? The poem ends with Lord Byron celebrating the woman's character rather than her appearance. This could suggest that someone's appearance is very surface level and easy to assess, but it takes much longer to figure out who they really are. Perhaps in structuring the poem like this, Lord Byron is in fact dismissing vanity and physical beauty, preferring internal beauty and beauty of character. Again, this is something that is very open to interpretation. Just like we have done for some of the other poems, there's a couple of questions that I have regarding the whole poem that requires a more holistic view. And there they are. Firstly, I think it would be useful for you to find as many images as possible that relate to lightness and darkness, and think of something you can say about those images generally. Doing so will mean that you have some extra quotations in your memory bank, as well as some ready-made analysis of them. Pretty useful exam prep, that. Secondly, I think it's useful to think about the poem's overall structure and what that could represent. Don't just feature spot or count, because that doesn't really get you any marks. You need to comment on what those numbers or features could also symbolize, or what they might mean. This is a time where I strongly recommend that you do have your own attempt at tackling these questions first. For instance, on that first question, I'm not highlighting anything. Okay, so there's my generic idea about how lightness and darkness have been used in this poem. Light has been used to represent beauty, but this is a very traditional image of beauty, which Lord Byron seems to reject, claiming that it is darkness that is beautiful. This subversion could reflect his own, for the time, subversive sexual preferences. This poem is formed of 3 stanzas of 6 lines each. The rhyme scheme is solid in the sense that the rhymes are strong and that the pattern AB, AB, AB is never deviated from. The rhythm of this poem is iambic tetrameter, and that's fairly consistent too. Overall, that means that this poem is structurally strong, consistent, and unwavering, just like the woman's beauty. And that's the whole poem analysed in depth. Now, we're going to consider the 3 M's of this poem. If that means nothing to you, I recommend that you have a quick look at the second video in this series, which is the second part of my analysis for Simon Armitage's The Manhunt. A link to that should be appearing on screen about now. So there's my summary of the poem. I think it's quite a straightforward poem, story-wise, in spite of its sometimes confusing language. What do you think? Have I missed anything essential out? And there's my comment on the poem's mood. Again, I think it's straightforward, really. Lord Byron is celebrating the woman's beauty. That's shown by loads of quotations, such as "all that's best of dark and bright," or "a heart whose love is innocent." And those are my ideas about Lord Byron's motivation. In short, I feel that he wants to celebrate beauty, which makes this a romantic, and that's capital R romantic, poem. Here we've got a theme table. Again, I've explained this in my second video of the series, the one that's the second part of Armitage's The Manhunt. In short, I think you'll find it really useful to produce a large table for these themes, with a row for each of the 18 anthology poems. If I was filling out the grid, this is what I might have done. I'd say that this poem is, to some extent, about the power of beauty, or the power of emotions, or just about powerful emotions generally. Although there are some references to nature in this poem, they're just that, they're just references. The poem itself isn't really about nature. Certainly, this is a love poem, although whether or not it's about emotional love or just lust is something for you to decide. I don't think this poem is particularly about war, nor time, nor place, but I would say it's about man, or rather a woman who is, interestingly, nameless. It is also about, we assume, a man's feelings about that woman. This poem's not about death, and nor is it about religion, although I could maybe buy an argument that says that this poem is near devotional in its tone, devotional towards the woman, and therefore it's sort of pseudo-religious. I could be convinced there, but it would take quite a bit, I think. So those are my thoughts about the themes that could apply to this poem. But what do you think? Please let me know how you would fill out this grid in the comments section below. A bit of quotation and context work is what I'm suggesting you do as a revision task for this poem. So get a piece of paper and write Lord Byron's name in the middle of it. Around his name, spread out evenly, write down at least 5 different contextual facts. Now on the outside of each of those, write a quotation that's relevant to the context. Obviously that's a quotation from the poem. Then outside of each quotation, write a brief explanation about how the quotation is relevant to the context. So if you've done all of that, it might look like that. As you can see, I've got Lord Byron in the middle, then the sort of yellowy goldy ring is where all my context facts would go, so I'd split them across evenly, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Then the next ring from that, I know the sort of pale green, sort of beigey, I'm not really sure what colour that is, to be honest. That one, relevant quotations, I would stick the right quotation right next to the right bit of context, and then explanations in the outermost ring, the one that's sort of green, I guess. So just to make that really clear, all of this stuff, that's all about one idea. and sewed all that stuff. I don't know, just to make it pretty, you might do something like that there, and there as well. And look at that, I've made a flower. Isn't that amazing? So, once you've done that, that is, at least for this video, She Walks in Beauty done. So if this video has helped you in any way, please do give it a like, and then also, if you're not already, subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification bell. Because if I've helped you with this poem, then there's another 17 that I will be able to help you with too. And that's before I've covered any of the other lit texts. Do drop this video a comment too. As I've said already, you are welcome to add in any of your own bits of analysis, or to ask me any questions that you might have about this poem. Adding a comment also helps me with the YouTube algorithms. If this video's helped you, then you can help me to help even more people by liking, commenting, and so on, so that it'll be recommended to even more people. Anyway, have an awesome rest of the day, and remember to take frequent breaks as you revise, because a burned out student is not a happy or successful student. So, why might you compare somebody's beauty to nighttime? Well, it could be because they're mysterious. It could be because they are as beautiful as stars. Or it could even be because they are more beautiful than daytime.